In an age forgotten by time and veiled by holy shadows, beneath the golden hills of ancient Jerusalem, a secret burned brighter than the sun. Beyond the sacred rituals and the echoing psalms, hidden beneath stone and silence, the Second Temple held a truth too powerful for mortal lips. They say the fire never died, that deep within the foundation of Zion, a chamber sealed by celestial law held a flame that no wind could extinguish. A flame tended not by men, but by winged sentinels, crowned in light and thunder. Seraphim, guardians of the threshold between heaven and earth. But as kingdoms rose and fell, as priests were born and buried, the knowledge of the chamber waned, until it became myth, then silence. Until now. This is the tale of Ezra, a young priest with eyes like twilight and questions like storms. A seeker of truth in a city brimming with secrets, called not by kings or prophets, but by something older. A whisper in the sanctuary, a pulse beneath the altar, a memory carved in fire. Follow his steps through sacred courts and shifting realms, through battles unseen and songs unspoken. For the Second Temple is more than stone and sacrifice. It is the crossroads of eternity. And the flame has awakened. Chapter 1. The Whisper Beneath the Altar. The morning sun stretched long fingers over the rooftops of Jerusalem, gilding the limestone in warm, honeyed light. Incense drifted through the courtyards of the Second Temple, curling like spirit smoke toward heaven. Priests moved with sacred rhythm, chanting prayers older than empire, their white garments catching the breeze like sails of an unseen ship. Among them walked Ezra, son of Amiel, the youngest of the temple priests, his eyes alight with wonder and a restlessness that had no name. He knew the rituals by heart, the songs, the offerings, the ancient steps of atonement. But it was not enough. While others bowed, Ezra listened. While others recited, he searched. For he had heard something once beneath the altar, a whisper. He could not tell whether it had come from below the stone or within his own soul. But ever since that day, something had stirred inside him. He felt it in the stillness of night, when the moon hung low over the city like a watchful eye. He felt it in the creak of the temple doors, in the hush before the sunrise offerings. A presence, a pull. That morning, as he swept the steps leading to the inner court, his fingers brushed against a crack in the stone, one he had never noticed before. It pulsed, ever so faintly, as if a heartbeat throbbed beneath the floor. He knelt, pressed his palm to it. A wave of warmth surged up his arm, and for a moment, the air around him shimmered. Ezra, a voice murmured, but no one stood nearby. He staggered back, breath caught in his throat. The world around him was unchanged. The bustle of the temple, the chants, the laughter of children chasing pigeons near the outer gate. And yet, something had shifted. Later, in the Chamber of Scrolls, he searched feverishly through ancient parchments. Most held lists of sacrifices, genealogies, prophetic writings. But in a scroll bound in gold thread, nearly hidden behind a crumbling shelf, he found a passage that seized his heart. Within the house of stone lies the chamber not built by hands. Watched by fire, sealed by glory, it awaits the one who listens beneath silence. His fingers trembled as he traced the words. A chamber not built by hands. Watched by fire. Could it be true? He returned that night, long after the temple gates were closed and the lamps extinguished. Moving like a shadow, he crept through the outer courts, through the colonnades where the wind whispered through the columns. And then, standing before the altar once more, he whispered back, "I am here." The ground beneath him pulsed. Then silence. Then light. A circle of flame erupted around the altar, not consuming, but revealing. The stone floor trembled, and from the very center, a seam opened, a line of fire cutting through marble, exposing a staircase spiraling down into darkness. Ezra stood at the edge, heart pounding like a war drum. This was no vision, no dream. The whisper had answered. He took a breath and stepped into the flame. Chapter 2. The Stairs of Silence. The stone beneath Ezra's feet was warm, as though it remembered sunlight from long ago. The spiral staircase descended into a darkness untouched by oil lamps or torches. Each step echoed like a question, ancient, waiting, heavy with meaning. He carried no lantern. Yet, as he descended, a soft glow began to rise from the walls themselves. The stones shimmered faintly, carved with runes he did not recognize, letters that moved when he tried to read them, shifting like smoke and wind. The air grew thick, not with dust or age, but with presence. He was not alone. Ezra's heart thudded against his ribs, but he did not stop. Deeper he went, past layers of the temple no architect had ever described. He could feel time folding around him, like a cloak being drawn tighter. He thought of the scroll, the chamber not built by hands. Was he now walking through that very place? A sanctuary beyond the sanctuary? At last, the stairs ended in a wide platform of obsidian. Before him rose a great archway, sculpted from flame-shaped stone. At its center hovered a veil, not cloth, but light, woven from threads of gold and crimson, humming with celestial sound. Behind it, Ezra sensed a vastness, a chamber that lived, that breathed. And then, they appeared. From either side of the veil, two figures emerged. Their forms were blinding, yet he could see their outlines, tall as cedar trees, cloaked in wings of fire, their faces veiled in radiance. Seraphim. Their eyes burned with layered light, and their voices rang like bells forged from thunder. "Who treads the path?" asked the first, his voice both kind and terrifying. "A son of Levi," Ezra whispered, falling to his knees. The second seraphim stepped forward, his wings brushing the edges of the chamber. "Not all Levites are called. Why do you descend?" Ezra's breath trembled. "Because I heard the whisper. Because the temple hides a secret, and my soul cannot rest while it sleeps." Silence. Then the veil parted. It did not move as fabric would, but opened like the breaking of dawn. Warmth poured over Ezra's face, intimate, holy, uncontainable. He rose slowly and stepped beyond the seraphim. The chamber within defied space. Its ceiling shimmered like the heavens at night, yet the floor pulsed like living earth. In its center burned a flame, suspended in air, neither flickering nor consuming. It was shaped like a heart, yet infinite, and from it echoed music, a single note that rang through Ezra's bones and memory. He fell to his knees again. Tears streamed down his cheeks. "The flame of Jerusalem," the first seraphim said behind him, "hidden since the days of Solomon, guarded through fire and shadow." "It is the covenant before the covenant," said the other, "the light given before the law. Few have seen it. Fewer still have heard its song." Ezra tried to speak, but his tongue faltered. Words were too small. What he felt was not power, but purpose, a calling etched in eternity. Then the flame pulsed. Visions raced across his mind. Kings and prophets, wars and triumphs. The ark vanishing in a mist, the cry of a nation scattered like leaves. And then a shadow rising, a force cloaked in deception, seeking to extinguish the very soul of Israel. "You have been chosen," the seraphim said in unison. "The veil has opened for you, but light attracts darkness, and the enemy awakens." Ezra stood, though his legs trembled. "What must I do?" he asked. The flame dimmed, then flared. "You must guard the flame, or perish in the war it will ignite." Chapter 3. The Map of Ash and Light. Ezra emerged from the hidden chamber before dawn, the sky above Jerusalem still cloaked in violet. He moved like one reborn, his limbs heavy with mystery and his mind burning with images he could not forget. The flame, the seraphim, the warning. As the city stirred awake, Ezra found himself walking not toward his quarters, but toward the oldest part of the temple library, where dust spoke louder than voices. He moved past shelves of cedar wood and scrolls bound in faded linen until he reached a sealed alcove, the archive of the exiles, forbidden to all but the eldest scribes. The door, once locked, creaked open at his touch. Inside, the air was thick and still. Candles flickered into life without flame, ignited by something unseen. Ezra approached a stone pedestal, and there, Resting beneath a layer of ancient soot lay a map. It pulsed with soft light, the same hue as the flame below. It was no ordinary map. Jerusalem was drawn not as a city, but as a spiral of gates, altars, and lines of power, intersecting at the temple, and within it, the very heart where the hidden chamber lay. Radiating outward were other circles, mountains, wells, ruins, marked not with names, but with sigils of fire and wind. Some glowed, others flickered as if dying. Then he saw it, a sigil in the north, beyond the temple walls, unlit, yet trembling. Before he could ponder further, a breath of air stirred the room. Ezra turned sharply. An old man stood at the threshold. His robe was tattered, his beard white as ash, but his eyes were stars buried in flesh. "You've seen it," the old man said. Ezra's heart leapt. "Who are you?" "Once I was its keeper." Before the gates closed, before the silence, he stepped forward, fingers tracing the air above the glowing map. "The flame is not a secret. It is a thread, and it pulls at others. You have touched the first. Now the others will stir." Ezra's thoughts spun. What others? "The guardians," the man whispered, "scattered across the land, hidden in stone, song, and sorrow. Each holds a key. You must awaken them before the darkness gathers its strength." Ezra hesitated. What darkness? The old man's gaze turned grave. The pretender walks again, cloaked in the form of man, yet born of smoke. He knows the flame has stirred. He will come for it, and for you. Ezra looked down at the map. The northern sigil throbbed like a silent cry. "I must go," he said. "You must not go alone," the man warned. He reached into his robe and pulled out a medallion etched with a lion and a flame. "This will guide you. It will burn in the presence of the false." Ezra took it, and the moment it touched his skin, he felt a rush of clarity, like cold water washing away sleep. He looked back up, but the old man was gone. Only a whisper remained. "Trust the flame." Before midday, Ezra had left the temple, slipping past the guards through the pilgrim's gate, his cloak drawn low. The medallion hung beneath his tunic, the map folded tightly in his sash. Behind him, the holy city continued its daily rhythm. But before him, the land stretched wild and uncertain. He did not know where the path would lead, only that the flame had called, and he had answered. Chapter 4. The Wind over Shiloh. The journey north led Ezra through lands etched with memory, olive groves gnarled by centuries, hills that whispered names long forgotten, and streams that once quenched prophets' thirst. Yet none of it felt familiar. Since touching the flame, the world had changed. Or perhaps he was now seeing what had always been hidden. By the second day, the winds had turned. They no longer carried the scent of earth, but something stranger, like ash laced with incense. The medallion around his neck grew warm with each mile, tugging slightly to the east, guiding him through ravines and ridges until the path grew too narrow for beasts or men. He reached Shiloh at twilight. Ruins crowned the hill like a broken crown. Once, the Ark of the Covenant had rested here, long before Solomon's temple was dreamed. Now, the place lay hushed, the stones heavy with sorrow. The moon rose silver over fallen pillars, and somewhere in the distance, a jackal howled. Ezra stepped into the remnants of what had once been the sanctuary. A circle of shattered stones surrounded a hollow altar. Grass grew in the cracks, but the air shimmered. He knelt. The medallion pulsed. And then he saw it, a figure standing beyond the altar, cloaked in wind and dusk. A woman, radiant yet veiled, her hair like river reeds, her eyes deeper than wells. "You have come," she said, not in greeting, but in recognition. Ezra rose slowly. "Are you one of the guardians?" She nodded. "I am Shira, keeper of the wind gate. My vow began when the ark left Shiloh. I remained, watching, waiting for the flame to stir. It burns again," Ezra said, "and darkness rises with it." She stepped forward. "The pretender has already moved. He awakens the old altars, twists them, turns memory into shadow. You are the flame's chosen, Ezra, but the flame does not protect. It reveals." Ezra frowned. "Reveals what?" She extended her hand. From her sleeve fell a shard of translucent stone, humming faintly with light. The first key. He touched it, and in that moment, the wind howled louder, lifting dust and leaves into a circle around them. Time bent. Images rushed through Ezra's mind. Shira at the moment the ark was taken, watching weeping priests, hearing the thunder of hooves. The temple falling. Fire in the sky. And then a figure cloaked in black smoke, walking among ruins, leaving no shadow. Ezra staggered back. He has found the second gate, Shira said, her voice trembling. In Ashkelon, the guardian there is dying. Ezra clenched his fists. Then I must go. I cannot let him reach the keys. Shira placed the shard into his hand. Ashkelon is far, and danger flies ahead of you. Take the path of the watchman. Follow the hills until the cedars weep. There, you will find the silent tower. As she turned to go, Ezra called after her. Will I see you again? She paused. Only if the flame endures. Only if you do. Then she vanished, folded into the wind like a forgotten hymn. Ezra stood alone in the ruins of Shiloh, the night pressing in. The shard glowed softly in his hand, and the medallion warmed once more, pointing him onward. The battle had begun. Chapter 5, The Cedars That Weep. Ezra walked beneath a bruised sky. The clouds stretched like torn veils above the hills. The path of the watchman was not marked by stone or name, but the medallion whispered to him, "Turn here, cross there, descend when the light bends." He obeyed. For 3 days, he traveled among ridges that bore no footprints, through valleys where the wind spoke in tongues. The shard from Shiloh pulsed faintly at night, shedding just enough light to drive back fear, but never enough to banish it. On the 4th day, the trees changed. Where olive and fig had ruled, now stood towering cedars, ancient, gnarled, their roots twisted like the fingers of the earth. The air grew damp and heavy. It began to rain, not with thunder, but with sorrow. The water that fell from the branches was not cold. It was warm, like tears. Ezra reached the heart of the grove at dusk. There stood the silent tower. It was no taller than 3 men, built from red stone veined with silver, half swallowed by vines and moss. No door marked its base. No windows crowned its heights. But the flame inside Ezra stirred. This was the place. The next gate. He approached cautiously. At the base, he found a sigil carved in Old Hebrew. Zaphon, keeper of the watch. A gust of wind circled him, and then the voice came, not from above, but within the stone. "You bear the flame." "I do," Ezra answered aloud. "You seek the second key." "Yes." The air grew still. Then the sigil shimmered and opened like a mouth of light. Ezra stepped through and found himself not in a tower, but a great hall, lit by no flame, held by no walls. Stars hung above like lanterns, and beneath his feet flowed a floor of moving water. In the center stood a man cloaked in emerald and black. His eyes were shut. His hands, scarred by time, held a staff of cedar with thorns at its crown. "Zaphon," Ezra whispered. The man opened his eyes. "I am dying," he said. "The pretender came days ago, not in form, but in voice. He sang the song of loss, turned my dreams against me." "Why didn't you leave?" Ezra asked. "Because I vowed to stand until the flame returned. And now it has. You were late, but not too late." Zaphon lifted his staff and placed its tip upon the watery floor. The ripples became images, cities burning, temples falling, a serpent with 7 mouths devouring stars. "You will need more than keys," Zaphon warned. "You will need truth that wounds and hope that blinds." He reached into the folds of his robe and drew out a ring, etched with the sigil of the tower. He handed it to Ezra. "The second key, the ring of the watchman. It holds memory. It will show you what others forget, and what some wish never remembered." As Ezra took it, a cry tore through the unseen sky. A dark shape descended from above, the pretender's servant, a creature with wings of ash and eyes like broken glass. Its shriek split the hall of stars. Zaphon raised his staff. "Run!" But Ezra stood his ground. The medallion flared. The ring burned in his palm. He lifted both. Light surged from him, flame from the temple's heart, wind from Shiloh, memory from the tower. The creature screamed as its wings turned to mist, its body unraveling into dust. Silence returned. Zaphon had fallen to his knees, his strength spent. Ezra approached and knelt beside him. "You have done more than most," the guardian whispered. "The third gate lies beneath the sea of mirrors. Seek the city that breathes no more." With those words, his form began to fade, like smoke returning to heaven. Ezra left the tower alone. The ring now hung beside the shard, and the medallion glowed faintly with both. He turned toward the west, where the sea whispered his name. Chapter 6: The City That Breathes No More. The journey westward carried Ezra through lands where silence had taken root, strangling every sound like a shroud. The roads became cracked veins beneath his feet, and the air grew thick with the scent of salt and forgotten memories. He crossed hills and plains until the sea stretched before him, a vast mirror under a dull sky, reflecting neither sun nor stars. The city beneath its surface awaited. Legends spoke of the Sea of Mirrors as a place where the veil between worlds thinned, but no one who ventured there ever returned to tell the tale. Ezra's heart pounded with both dread and hope, the flame within him flickering like a beacon in the gathering gloom. As he approached the shoreline, the medallion burned hotter, its light piercing the mist that curled like smoke over the water's edge. The shard and the ring hummed in response, awakening some ancient pulse deep beneath the waves. Ezra took a deep breath and stepped into the cold embrace of the sea. The water was not water. It held no chill, no wetness, but a weightless clarity that swallowed him whole. The surface shimmered like glass, rippling in slow motion as if time itself bent to the will of the city below. Suddenly, the world flipped. He found himself walking through streets paved with silver and obsidian, buildings rising like ghosts from the depths. The city breathed no air, yet it pulsed with a spectral life, silent, watchful, and eternal. Ezra's steps echoed without sound as he moved deeper into the labyrinth. Shadows twisted at the edge of his vision, whispers of souls long lost, trapped between moments. Above him, statues of angels with hollow eyes guarded forgotten gates. He came to a plaza where a fountain once stood, now cracked and dry. At its center lay a crystalline orb, dull and lifeless. Ezra reached out, and the orb flared with sudden light. Visions flooded him, a city alive with laughter and light, then engulfed in darkness, priests fleeing, mothers crying, the pretender's shadow swallowing hope. The orb pulsed, revealing a figure cloaked in silver, a woman with eyes like the sea, her hands bound by chains of shadow. "The guardian of the depths," Ezra whispered. She spoke without words, her voice carried in his mind. "You carry the flame, bearer, but the depths hold secrets darker than flame or shadow. To awaken the guardian, you must confront the silence." Ezra nodded. He touched the orb again, and a shard of light pierced the darkness, carving a path toward the submerged temple at the city's heart. He steeled himself and began to follow the shimmering trail, knowing each step drew him closer to the next key and to the pretender's web tightening around the flame. Chapter 7: The Guardian of the Depths. The submerged temple loomed like a sleeping giant beneath the sea of mirrors, its silhouette etched against the eerie glow of the crystalline depths. Ezra moved cautiously, every heartbeat echoing like thunder in the stillness around him. The path beneath the water was slippery and twisted, carved from ancient stone worn smooth by centuries of silence. As he neared the temple's entrance, the air thickened, charged with a strange energy that prickled his skin and quickened his breath. Before the massive doors, he found the guardian, the woman from the orb, standing with chains of shadow binding her wrists and ankles. Her eyes held an ocean's depth, calm yet fierce, and as Ezra approached, she nodded. "The pretender's curse holds me," she whispered. "I was once the high priestess, keeper of the sacred flame beneath the temple. But he shattered my vows, and I was bound here forgotten." Ezra stepped forward, heart filled with resolve. "I carry the flame to free you, and to protect the soul of Israel. She smiled faintly, a glimmer of hope shining through the darkness. To break the chains, you must face the trial of truth. Only by confronting your deepest fear will the flame burn pure. The temple doors rumbled open, revealing a chamber bathed in shadow. In its center, a mirror of black obsidian reflected Ezra's face, twisted by doubt and shadow. Visions flooded his mind. Failure, betrayal, the loss of those he loved. The flame flickered, threatened to die. But Ezra breathed deeply, centering himself. He stepped toward the mirror and spoke aloud the truth he feared most. "I'm not enough." The words echoed, but the flame within grew stronger. The mirror cracked. Light burst forth, shattering the chains binding the guardian. She stepped free, her form glowing with sacred fire. "You have passed," she said. "Take this, the third key." From her hands, she gave Ezra a crystal shaped like a flame, pulsing with warmth and light. "The flame is whole once more," she said, "but the battle is far from over. The pretender's final trap awaits in the heart of the second temple itself." Ezra nodded, clutching the crystal tightly. The journey back to Jerusalem was filled with urgency, the flame's glow lighting his path, and the weight of destiny heavy on his shoulders. The mystery deepened. The flame was no longer just a light. It was a call to arms, to courage, to truth. And Ezra would answer. Chapter 8, The Hidden Sanctum. Jerusalem's walls rose before Ezra like ancient sentinels guarding secrets long buried. The city pulsed with life and shadow, its narrow streets weaving a tapestry of faith and fear. But Ezra's heart was fixed on the second temple, the place where destinies would collide. The flame crystals hummed in his pack, each one a beacon of hope and power. The medallion around his neck pressed against his chest, reminding him of the burden he carried. He slipped through the temple's outer courts, past priests and worshippers, their faces unaware of the battle brewing beneath their feet. There, hidden beneath the stones, lay the hidden sanctum, an ancient chamber lost to time and memory, whispered only in legends and prayers. Ezra found the entrance beneath the altar, a narrow passage cloaked in darkness. His fingers brushed the cold stone walls as he descended, the flame crystals illuminating the way with a soft, golden glow. The air grew thick, heavy with incense long extinguished. Symbols of forgotten gods and angels danced along the walls, their meaning lost to all but the initiated. At the chamber's heart, a great door of bronze barred his path, etched with inscriptions that seemed to shift and change like living flames. Ezra traced the symbols with trembling hands, feeling the power beneath the metal. "Only the flame can unlock this gate," he whispered. He placed the crystal against the door. The metal trembled and glowed, then slowly, with a deep groan, the gate parted. Inside lay the Chamber of Secrets, a vast room filled with relics of the past, scrolls bound in gold, and an altar carved from the heart of a living tree. But before Ezra could move forward, the air shifted. From the shadows emerged a figure clad in dark robes, eyes glowing like embers. "The flame bearer returns," the figure said, voice cold as stone. "But you are too late." Ezra's grip tightened around the crystals. "This flame will not be extinguished," he declared. The figure smiled, a cruel, twisted curve. "We shall see." The chamber trembled as the battle for the soul of Jerusalem reached its crescendo. Chapter 9, The Battle of Shadows. The chamber shook with the fury of ancient powers unleashed. Ezra stood firm, the flame crystals glowing fiercely in his hands, casting flickering light across the walls etched with cryptic symbols. The dark-robed figure stepped forward, revealing a face both familiar and twisted, a reflection of the pretender's wrath. His eyes burned with a hunger for destruction, a desire to snuff out the sacred flame that Ezra carried. "You think you can stop the inevitable?" the figure hissed. "This temple is mine to claim." Ezra's heart pounded like a war drum, but he remembered Zaphon's words. "You will need truth that wounds and hope that blinds." Summoning every ounce of courage, Ezra lifted the flame crystals high. Their light erupted, a radiant blaze that pushed back shadows and filled the chamber with warmth and power. The pretender's servant roared, summoning dark tendrils that writhed like serpents, striking toward Ezra. But the flame burned brighter still, melting the shadows into nothingness. A fierce battle ensued. Light against dark, hope against despair, faith against corruption. Ezra moved with the speed of the wind, dodging attacks and striking back with bursts of flame. The chamber's walls cracked under the strain, ancient runes glowing as they responded to the clash. At last, with a final roar, Ezra channeled the full power of the flame into a brilliant pillar of light. It pierced the darkness, shattering the figure into ash and silence. Breathing heavily, Ezra looked around the chamber. The flame crystals pulsed steadily now, a beacon of victory and warning. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. From the broken shadows emerged a voice, a whisper carried on the wind, chilling yet distant. "The flame will burn, but the war for the soul of Jerusalem is far from over." Ezra knew then that his journey had only just begun. The mystery of the Second Temple was deeper than he imagined, and the flame's true power was yet to be revealed. Chapter 10. The Scroll of the Ancients. After the battle in the hidden sanctum, the air felt heavier, as if the very walls of the Second Temple held their breath. Ezra moved cautiously, the flame crystals still warm in his hands, their light guiding him through the labyrinthine corridors below. In the heart of the chamber lay an ancient stone pedestal, worn smooth by time. Resting atop, it was a scroll, bound in cracked leather and sealed with a symbol Ezra had never seen, a serpent coiled around flame. His fingers trembled as he broke the seal, unrolling the fragile parchment with reverence. The scroll's script was written in a language part familiar, part unknown, a cryptic mix of Hebrew, Aramaic, and something older, something primal. Ezra traced the letters with his eyes, feeling the words pulse with hidden power. The scroll spoke of a covenant, a pact forged in fire and blood, linking the temple not just to the earthly realm, but to the realms beyond. It told of seraphim guardians, fiery beings of light who stood watch over a chamber hidden beneath the temple's core. This chamber, the scroll revealed, was the true heart of the Second Temple, a gateway between worlds. Ezra's breath caught. The mystery he sought was deeper, more perilous than he had imagined. Suddenly, the chamber shuddered. A distant rumble echoed through the stones, as if the temple itself was warning him to turn back. But Ezra was resolute. The flame within him burned brighter than fear. He rolled the scroll carefully and tucked it into his robe. The next step was clear. He must find the chamber of the seraphim and unlock the secret that could save or destroy the soul of Jerusalem. Chapter 11. The Path of Seraphim. Guided by the cryptic scroll, Ezra ventured deeper into the bowels of the Second Temple. The air grew dense, charged with a sacred energy that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat beneath the stone. Every step felt like crossing a threshold, not just through space but between worlds. The walls around him shimmered faintly, as if alive with ancient whispers. The flame crystals in his hands cast a golden glow that revealed faded murals of fiery angels, the seraphim, their 6 wings stretched wide, guarding sacred mysteries. Ezra's heart raced with awe and trepidation. The temple was no mere structure. It was a living nexus, a bridge between the earthly realm and the celestial. At last, he reached a heavy door carved with the image of a blazing sun encircled by 7 stars. The scroll's words echoed in his mind. Only the bearer of the flame may enter the chamber where fire and spirit entwine. Taking a deep breath, Ezra pressed the flame crystal into a hollow shaped like a burning heart on the door. The stone trembled, and the door slowly swung open, revealing a vast chamber bathed in an ethereal firelight that had no source but filled the room with warmth and radiance. In the center stood a circle of 6 seraphim statues, their eyes glowing with blue fire. Between them hovered a pulsating orb of light, the very essence of the sacred flame. Ezra stepped forward, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon him. Suddenly, the seraphim statues stirred, their stone forms shifting into living flames that danced and flickered. "You who carry the flame," they intoned in voices both many and one. "To prove your worth, you must confront the trial of the soul." A whirlwind of fire and light enveloped Ezra, pulling him into visions of his deepest fears, his doubts, and his hopes. Each flame tested him, his courage, his faith, his truth. And as he endured, the sacred flame within him grew ever stronger, burning away the shadows that sought to consume him. When the trial ended, the seraphim's voices softened. "You have been found worthy. The flame's secret is yours to bear." Ezra bowed his head, knowing the path ahead would demand everything he had. Chapter 12, The Heart of the Temple. Ezra emerged from the trial of fire, his spirit tempered like steel forged in the heart of a blazing furnace. The sacred flame, once a flicker within him, now roared with steady intensity, illuminating the shadows that clung stubbornly to the ancient stones of the temple's depths. He ventured further, the air thick with the weight of centuries, each breath heavy with the scent of burning incense and forgotten prayers. The temple was no longer a mere structure, but a living entity, a guardian of secrets older than time itself. The corridors twisted and narrowed, walls adorned with cryptic glyphs that shimmered faintly beneath the flame crystal's glow. Each step carried him closer to the beating heart of this sacred place, a chamber whispered of in legends, where fire and spirit converged in eternal vigil. As Ezra approached, a grand archway loomed before him, carved with the image of a blazing sun encircled by 7 radiant stars, their light etched into the stone as if frozen in a moment of celestial glory. His fingers brushed against the flame-shaped hollow embedded in the arch, the perfect resting place for the crystals he carried. With a breath that held all the hope and courage he could muster, Ezra pressed the crystals into the hollow. The temple seemed to exhale, the stone humming with awakening power. The archway shifted, grinding open to reveal a vast chamber bathed in ethereal firelight, light that had no earthly source but filled the space with a warmth that seeped deep into the bones. In the chamber's center stood 6 towering statues of seraphim, their 6 wings spread wide, eyes glowing with an otherworldly blue flame. Hovering between them was a pulsating orb of light, the very essence of the sacred flame, alive and breathing. The statues stirred, stone melting into living flame as they regarded Ezra with ancient, knowing eyes. Their voices, many yet one, echoed through the chamber. "Bearer of the flame, to prove your worth, you must endure the trial of the soul." Without warning, a whirlwind of fire and light engulfed him, pulling him into visions that tore the fabric of his being, memories, fears, doubts, and hopes twisted together in a blaze of revelation. Each fiery trial tested a different part of his spirit, his courage in the face of despair, his faith amid darkness, his truth against deception. Through the flames, Ezra confronted his deepest self, his resolve hardening with every challenge. The sacred flame inside him grew brighter, burning away shadows that sought to claim him. When the storm of fire finally subsided, the seraphim's voices softened, filled with reverence. "You have been found worthy. The flame's secret is now yours to bear." Ezra bowed deeply, understanding that the path ahead would demand everything, his strength, his faith, and his very soul. The true heart of the Second Temple awaited, and with it, the destiny of Jerusalem itself. Chapter 13, The Final Confrontation. The chamber pulsed with a fierce energy, crackling like a storm about to break. Ezra stood firm, the flame crystals blazing bright in his hands, casting shadows that danced wildly across the ancient stone walls. The air was thick with the scent of burnt incense and the raw power of the sacred flame. From the darkness emerged the shadowed figure, a being cloaked in shifting shadows, his eyes glowing with a cold, cruel fire. He moved with unnatural grace, the embodiment of a force that sought to snuff out the light Ezra carried. "The flame is mine to command," the figure hissed, his voice echoing like a chill wind through the chamber. "You cannot stop the darkness from consuming what is rightfully its own." Ezra tightened his grip on the crystals, feeling the warmth of the flame surge through him, steady and unyielding. "This temple is a beacon of hope," he replied, "and the flame will never be extinguished while there are those who believe." Suddenly, the figure lashed out, unleashing a torrent of dark energy that surged like a tidal wave. Ezra responded instinctively, raising the flame crystals as a shield. The flames erupted into a blazing wall of light, crashing against the darkness with a roar that shook the chamber to its foundations. As the battle raged, Ezra realized this was more than a clash of light and shadow. It was a battle for the very soul of Jerusalem. The temple's sacred flame was the prize, a power that could tip the balance between salvation and oblivion. Summoning every ounce of his strength, Ezra shaped the flame into a radiant sword, its edges shimmering with divine fire. Each strike sliced through the shadows, pushing the figure back inch by inch. But the shadowed adversary was relentless, weaving through the flames with a sinister agility. He struck with claws of darkness and whispers of deceit, attempting to fracture Ezra's resolve. In the heat of the fight, Ezra felt the presence of the seraphim, their fiery wings stirring the air, their voices urging him onward. Drawing strength from their ancient vigilance, he focused his will and unleashed a final, searing blast of flame. The darkness shattered, the shadowed figure dissolving into ash and smoke, leaving the chamber bathed in a radiant calm. Ezra stood alone, the flame crystals glowing softly in his hands. Though victorious, he knew the war for Jerusalem's soul was far from over. Chapter 14. The Awakening Light. The echoes of battle faded, replaced by a profound stillness that settled over the chamber. Ezra stood alone, surrounded by the soft glow of the flame crystals, their light now steady and pure. As he stepped forward, the sphere of light above the altar began to pulse, resonating with a deep, ancient rhythm. The sacred flame responded, spreading warmth through the stone and filling the temple's core with a radiant energy that seemed to breathe life itself. Suddenly, the walls shimmered and transformed. Scenes from history and prophecy danced before Ezra's eyes. He saw the temple's construction, its destruction, and the countless souls who had prayed within its walls. But beneath it all was a deeper truth. The flame was not just a symbol of faith, but a living force, a bridge between realms, a guardian of spiritual balance. Ezra's heart swelled with purpose. The flame's mystery was not meant to be hidden, but shared, a light to guide the lost and protect the sacred heritage of Jerusalem. From the depths of the temple, a gentle voice whispered, carried on the sacred wind, "Bearer of the flame, you are the keeper of the eternal light. Guard it well, for the flame's destiny is bound to the soul of the world." With renewed resolve, Ezra raised the flame crystals high. The temple responded, its ancient stones glowing with a renewed brilliance, a beacon of hope and faith against the encroaching darkness. The flame of Jerusalem had awakened once more. Chapter 15. The Flame Eternal. Outside, the first light of dawn broke over the city of Jerusalem, bathing the ancient stones in a golden glow. Ezra emerged from the depths of the temple, the flame crystals warm in his hands and his spirit alight with newfound purpose. He knew the battle was not over. The forces that sought to claim the temple's power still lurked in the shadows. But now, the flame within him burned brighter than ever, a fire of faith and courage that no darkness could extinguish. As he walked the streets, the people seemed drawn to the light he carried. Whispers of hope spread through the city like wildfire, rekindling faith in hearts long burdened by fear. Ezra understood that the Second Temple was more than stone and mortar. It was a living testament to the enduring spirit of a people, a sanctuary where the earthly and the divine converged. The secret of the sacred flame was no longer a mystery locked away in shadows. It was a beacon for all who sought truth, a call to awaken the soul of Jerusalem and beyond. With the flame as his guide, Ezra vowed to protect this sacred legacy, to stand as guardian against the darkness that threatened to consume it. For as long as the flame of Jerusalem burned, hope would endure, and the light of faith would never fade. As days turned to weeks, Ezra traveled beyond the city, sharing the story of the flame and the temple's hidden truth. In every village and town, the flame's warmth sparked a revival of spirit, uniting people under a common cause, to guard the sacred flame and keep the light alive. Yet, Ezra remained vigilant. He knew the shadows would return, lurking in corners unseen, waiting for a moment of weakness. But with the flame eternal burning in his heart, he was ready for whatever lay ahead. The mystery of the Second Temple was no longer just a secret of the past. It was a living, breathing force, shaping the future of Jerusalem and the world. And so, beneath the watchful eyes of the seraphim and the endless sky, the flame of Jerusalem continued to burn, eternal, unyielding, and bright. Epilogue. As the flame of Jerusalem continues to burn in the hearts of those who believe, the mystery of the Second Temple remains a beacon of hope, courage, and faith. The journey may have ended here, but the light it ignited will guide us forever. Thank you for joining us on this epic adventure through the hidden realms of Jerusalem's sacred flame. We hope this story has sparked your own flame of curiosity and wonder. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our channel to keep the light alive. Until next time, may your own journey be filled with light and discovery.